Okay, let's give this a go. So now that we've learned a lot of different things about a line and a straight linear equation, we should be able to find the equation of the line as well when we're given some other facts. So there's two ways we can find it: when we know a gradient and at least 1 point, or just 2 points. So if we know one of those, we should be able to find the equation of the line. So I'm not going to read through this as detailed. I'm going to rewrite these steps for you in more easier steps because that's a little bit lengthy and wordy. So we're going to have a look at example 17. So get your booklet out and be ready to copy it down. So find in gradient in step form. Now we know that this means we want it to look something like this. The equation of the line, we want it to look like the general form like this, which passes through this point and this 2 points. So as we can see, we know 2 points, so we should be able to find the equation of the line. So we'll give it a go. Now if I read this first little sentence over here, our first step is to, if we are given 2 points but not the gradient, our first step is always to find the gradient of the line. So that's going to be our first step. So let's copy our steps down. So if there is no gradient, if there is a gradient, you could probably skip this step, right? Find gradient. So that's our first step. If I have 2 points and I need to find the gradient, what would I do? Well, hopefully that comes to you straight away because we've done this multiple times. We can write the coordinates. I always write it in the same order, A and B. And then I write, my x1, y1, x2, y2. And then I write my gradient formula, which is y step, which is y2 take y1, over x step, which is x2 take x1. All I have to do is substitute those numbers. So y2 is 5, y1 is 3, x2 is -2, x1 is 1. So all I have to do is calculate those. 5 take 3 is 2, -2 take 1 is -3, so that becomes my gradient. Now, second step, let's have a look. What we do next depends on the information we have. I'm reading this little sentence, and our end goal. If a line is gradient m and y-intercept c, the equation is pretty simple. We don't have the y-intercept, so we can't do that one. However, if a line has a gradient m, which we found, and passes through a point, its equation is blah. We can quickly rearrange to follow to find the gradient in step or general form. I'm going to show you my way. So let's do step 2. So once you've found the gradient form, you can substitute gradient into equation. So we know that this is the equation we want to use. So I'm going to copy the equation and then I'm going to substitute my my gradient. So gradient goes in there. So if I rewrite this equation, it'll be y equals 2 over -3. Remember that the minus doesn't matter where it goes, so I could actually technically write the minus there, which I like better. I like having minuses at the numerator. I've got my x and then I've got my plus c. C, I still don't know what the answer is. But what you can do now is use one of the coordinates. We've got the coordinate A and coordinate B. So substitute one of the coordinates. So if I write sub, it's just substitute one coordinate into equation and rearranged. And then what you're going to do is rearrange to find C ultimately. So let's give it a go. I'll show you. So basically, I'm going to choose A coordinate. Coordinate A. I'm going to substitute this one into x, this one into y, because those are the coordinates. I'm going to write my equation again. Y equals -2 over 3, x plus c. But instead of writing y, I'm going to write 3. Instead of writing x, I'm going to write 1 from these coordinates. Okay, so I'm substituting those in. So it becomes 3 equals -2 over 3 times 1 plus c. All I have to do is rearrange to find c. So I'm going to move this to the other side, so it becomes 3 plus 2 over 3 equals c. If I chuck that in the calculator, hopefully you can find it. I'm just going to do it manually because I don't have a calculator with me. So it's called adding fractions, which is 11 over 3. So I'm almost done. My final step is 2. I'm going to squeeze it in here. Hopefully you can still write it in your book and you've got enough space. Is write final equation. And remember that we want our answer in the gradient intercept form. It says it over here. So we want to basically write y equals our slope, which is minus 2 over 3, x, and then our c plus c, so plus 11 over 3. So that should be our answer. So now what you should be able to do, once you copy all of these examples down and the steps down, you should be able to do 13H question 1 to 6. And obviously you don't have to do every single one of them. Go back to the checklist and see what questions I told you to do, what column, what rows, etc. And once you have done that, you can come back and write example 18 as well. Or you can watch example 18 first if you want to, up to you, but I always like to do a little bit of example first to practice that skill. Alright, let's do example 18. So pause the video and come back to it if you want to, or let's just keep going. So let's copy down example 18. So now in general form, the general form looks something like this. You know, ax plus by equals c. So we want that form in the equation of a line. So first A has a gradient. First of all, that means I don't have to do step 1, because step 1 was finding the gradient, so I can skip it. Great. Step 2 straight away. So step 2 was, let's go back, subgradient into equation. So what I can do is write y equals 3 over 4 x plus c. And then what I have to do is substitute these coordinates, because that's step 3, sub 1 coordinate into equation to rearrange to find c. So that's what I'm going to do. I get 5, no, let me write this down. So let me write step 3. So I'm not going to write the words because it's right above and you should have written it down. So step 3, this is the coordinates that I'm using. This is my x, this is my y. So I get minus 2 equals 3 over 4 times 5 plus c. So I get minus 2 equals 15 over 4 plus c. So therefore it becomes minus 2 take minus 15 over 4 equals c. So I get 4. You can obviously do that in the calculator, but I don't have it on me again. So I'm just going to do it manually, which is called adding fractions. So I get minus 23 over 4. Hopefully that's the answer you got on your calculator as well. Okay, so basically step 4 is to write your final equation. So this is what I get. Y equals 3 over 4x, take 23 over 4. Now I'm not done yet because this is gradient intercept form. I need to make this into the general form. So technically we have a step 5 for this one. Change to general form. Now how we do this is a couple of steps. What I need to do is notice that the numerator is the same. So basically I should be able to combine these fractions. So this equation is the same as 3x take 23 divided by 4. It's the same thing. Now all I have to do is just get rid of this 4. Okay, so I just do times for both sides. So I get 4y equals 3x take 23. Now I'm really close. I just have to basically move my x term. I need to move 3x, so there's obviously a positive 3x, so it's minus 3x on both sides. So I get minus 3x, because I think we write the x first, plus 4y equals minus 23. So that should be our answer in general form. So part A is done. Let's do part B. So part B is really similar to example 17, where we have 2 points, but we just, once we get to this point, basically, we have to convert it into general form. So I'll show you how to do that too. So I'm going to run through step 1, 2, 3 really quickly. So step 1 is to find gradient. Okay, I'm not going to write this like the wording of the steps, but just go scroll back up and have a look at it. So in order to find the gradient, I use the equations 1, 7 minus 3, 10. So I just start by labeling them first. And then I find my equation. So that should be in your booklet. So you should be able to copy that down easily. And it'll also be given to you in the test, probably. Y2 is 10. Take 7. X2 is minus 3. Take 1. So I get 10 take 7, which is 3. And then minus 4. And I can write that with the minus on the top instead. So step 1 is done. Step 2 was to write it into my equation. So let's give that a go. So my equation is y equals mx plus c. And then I just replace that m with the minus 3 over 4. Alright, step 3 is using one coordinate. I'm going to choose this coordinate 1, 7, and then substituting it into the equation. So I get 7 equals minus 3 over 4 times 1 plus c. So I get 7 equals minus 3 over 4 plus c. So I just got to rearrange to find c. So that was the agenda for this step. So you can use that if you're using a calculator, or in this case I don't have a calculator on me, so I'm just going to do it manually, which is called adding fractions. So I get 31 over 4. So step 4, I should be able to write my final equation, okay, in y-intercept form, which is not what we want, but at least we can write it down first of all. Minus 3 over 4x plus 31 over 4. So now what I'm going to do is I can rewrite this. So step 5, sorry, is changed to general form. Right? So we haven't done this in example 17, but we'll give it a go. So as you can see, kind of similar to this example over here, we notice that the numerators are the same, which makes it easy. So you go y equals 4, big 4 on the bottom, and then a minus 3x plus 31 on the top. And then what I have to do is get rid of that divide 4 first, by times 4. So I get 4y equals minus 3x plus 31. I just have to get rid of the minus 3x from this side, so I do plus 3x on both sides. So my final answer is 3x plus 4y equals 31. So I'm done now. This is general form. Now a little tip, if you're doing these questions, so you're obviously going to do these questions now, obviously have a look at the checklist to see what questions I asked you to do. If, let's say, you get to this point and these numbers are not the same, the denominators, then what you need to do is make sure you get the denominators to be the same too. Okay? Make sure denominator is the same. Now, in order to make sure the denominator is the same, so let's say, I'll give you an example. So let's say it was something like this. So you see how the denominator is not the same. So what you need to do is make sure the denominator is the same. So what easiest way to do is times them together, 12. So you want to make both of them to a denominator of 12. So in order to do that, I times this one by 4. So I'm going to times the top one by 4. So I get minus 8x. In order to change this one, I times this one by 3, obviously. So I've got to times the top one by 3. So that's how you change it to the same denominator. But you should be able to do any of these questions now. So make sure you do all of these now.